Russia,
Albania,
Norway.
those are the three countries we have just seen have their second rehearsal here at Eurovision 2019. Shall we talk about it? Let's do this! We're going to discuss Mother Russia, find out if your mother was from Russia using My Heritage DNA. In any case, y'all, Sergey was bringing the fire. I thought it looked great. I talked to his team and they said actually there's still technical problems. One thing they've been working on is having the mirrored images of Sergey resemble Sergey in terms of color and kind of saturation, etc. They want you to be confused about which Sergey is real, and they're getting closer. They're still not there. Also, the water panel scene, they want to adjust the brightness. They basically don't want you to see the glass. They want you just to have this effect of water and tears. This, of course, is not down to them. This is down to the production. Funny enough, I had an interview today with Ola Meltzik, and he said that actually Russia was the first to get in touch with them this year for production way back in January. So they are always ahead of the curve and thinking big, ambitious. So it's really interesting that now, here we are just a few days away, and yet their vision still hasn't fully come to life. But I think this is good. Sergey's vocally competent. He's still vocally competent. This still is very arresting to me. The song is obviously not one you put on Spotify, but when this is on, I watch it. I watch it from start to finish, and it's not just because Sergey is attractive. This is not about that. This is about the staging being very high impact. While many people won't like it, I think there are many people who will.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely it still has wow factor moments in it. There's the start where kind of he starts traveling through the starscape and there are beams of light shooting at the screen, the interaction he has with his mirror, and there's the bit where there's the big kind of beating cacophony and those screens all go dark, and then as one, all the Sergeys step out in unison. There are some beautiful moments and he's a fantastic performer. Equally, I think we're in the first rehearsal, I perhaps did not get the shower cabinet fatigue that Chris was talking about. I'm approaching the camp of feeling like he spends an inordinate amount of time in the shower, which I don't in itself find a problem, but the camera angle, as we said in many countries, is problematic because it's not a close-up on him in the shower, it's all of the mirrors and him in one of them slightly off to the side. So I think, like several other countries, they're battling with production problems, the state which is not helping them. However, visually it makes an impact, it has a strong memorable identity, Sergey sounds great, and I do think the staging and kind of this kind of mixture of dark and light notes fits the theatricality of the song. There's great dimensionality to the staging. I just think there's some final kind of camera tweaks they need to make to really elevate this.
Yeah, I think that it is a visually arresting 3 minutes, and I do watch it for the 3 minutes, but it's more because I feel obliged to in a little bit, because that second minute where he's in the shower scene, as I keep on referring to it, that will lose a lot of people because there's so few close-ups of him. In every run-through, the camera angles were the same, whereas other people have changed them between run-throughs. This was still shot far too wide. It just wasn't right. Yes, okay, the water wasn't working today, but also, I now feel like they're trying to convey tears. I feel like the problem is that we've already seen somebody do tears better now with France, where they project the tears onto his face. Very different songs, very different people that they're going for, but I kind of feel like, I feel like just having a showery rain water effect in front of him is almost a bit just simple now in a way compared with what we've seen from somebody else, and that's not something I would have expected to say about Russia's staging.
Listen, thunder and lightning, it is still getting exciting. I think when you have the mixture of the thunder, the lightning, the starscape, and the tears, which could be mistaken for rain, it does work. It's a different take on water of that H2O, honey, where the H2O is coming out of the sky, out your nose, not your nose, your eye. It's a different take. I don't think people will conflate Bilal and Sergey.
No, and I will say one other thing. A lot of people have been like, oh, it's like, my negativity towards this song is not to do with anything about Russia or anything like that, which I have heard and I've seen in the comments. Nothing to do
You're
with
not
that.
anti-Russian at all.
I'm not anti-Russian. You are the only one who is one of my favourite entries for a very, very long time. I love Sergey, and I was very excited about Sergey coming back. I just don't think that... I think Sergey wanted to win Eurovision. This is not a Eurovision winning song right now. Performance. Song or performance. It's neither right
All right,
now.
we move on to the next country in this group, Albania. The big change here is that Mother Albania is now in a nest. On the LED floor, we have a bird's nest with people in it. I suppose Jonida is giving birth, giving life to the people of Albania. All those people who have gone abroad, they need to come back to the nest, y'all. Golden eggs and all, courtesy of Jonida. There's still very little staging here. There is very little staging. She's wonderful as always. She's never been the problem. She's always been the highlight, and she remains the highlight. I just wish she had more visual accents, because that's what she deserves.
Yeah, I mean, I'm disappointed for her, because I do think it feels like the Albanians really had a vision from the music video that they wanted to realise, and it just has not been possible due to production problems, which is becoming my buzzword of the day, but I do think it's the case. We saw the eagle once in the first rehearsal, and it did not quite work, and we've never seen the eagle again. And I just think without that, she stands in a nest, she sings in the nest for 3 minutes, she walks to the front, she emotes very well, but ultimately there's not a lot going on, and it just feels empty besides her, which I think is the problem. There's not kind of a moment or a spark or a fire, and I think knowing where she kind of finds herself in a very strong run of songs, I would be concerned for Albania's chances of making it into the grand final. I do think they're in a bit of trouble, and it's just I think it must be incredibly frustrating for them, because it's not, I don't think, down to them. I think it is production problems that their vision has not quite been realised.
Yes, I agree that there is. In fact, this is disappointing still, but they have made steps towards it being better. I just feel like it's going to be a case of too little, too late, unfortunately. Jonida deserves a hell of a lot better than what she's got, but I don't know. I mean, there's lots of things being talked about with Albania this, Albania that. I don't know where it's all coming from. Obviously, the eagle graphic didn't work, but other than that, they haven't brought any pyro, they haven't brought anything else, and that's something they could just order like that if they really wanted to, I feel like.
Write the check, honey.
And they've got a ring of fire, so the bird's nest turns into this ring of fire at one point. It's almost like a planet's corona on fire, and that, you know, and then you could match that with something else. It just feels like it's a bit half-hearted, and the only thing that isn't half-hearted about this is Jonida, who is having to give like 150%, because one, she can, and two, she's the only thing that's pulling this through right now. So hopefully Albania can keep on just throwing things at this to try and make it work. You know, they've pulled it out before with I'm Alive in 2015. Hopefully they can do it now, but I'm really worried, and I just hope for her sake that something can work in this.
It's a good point. You can feel the tension if you watch this closely between various production teams, various, monetary interests. It doesn't feel like this has been a harmonious journey.
No.
But you're right, Al Haydadani had no staging, and she came top 10 in the televote in the final. So y'all remember that. In any case, the final country in this group was Norway. And I gotta say, this was the first rehearsal I actually went in the arena to see, and I'm so glad I did. I saw the first run through last time, and I was like, is anything on the screen? But now that I've seen it live in the arena, this is banging. The spirit in the sky is on that stage. Spirit, that is the perfect word. This has so much vim and vigor and life and energy. All three of them are selling it. They look great. The LEDs are really striking. It is so striking. Northern lights, starscape, these gorgeous spirit animals, literal spirit animals. I think a deer, a big cat, and then something else. A wolf, perhaps, for Scandi Wolf. I am just loving the way this looks, the texture. It's 3 minutes of unadulterated fun. It's eye-popping, it's eye-catching. You don't want it to end, and it breezes by. I think the yoiker Fred, that yoiker slays. He is so unfazed by any of this. It's just cohesive. Despite the fact they're three very different performers, it's a very cohesive performance. Well done.
Yeah, I mean, I think Norway's second rehearsal was all the more impressive considering Tom couldn't hear in his in-ears for the first run-through and Alexandra couldn't in the second.
Amazing.
They had such technical problems with that, and yet the vocal was almost entirely unaffected. They know what they're doing, and the staging is so much better. I think the first rehearsal felt perhaps too dark, whereas now they have the colours of the normal lights involved. There is this beautiful scene in the Yoiking where they have the kind of head of the reindeer, the deer, whatever kind of marsupial you want it to be, that flashes up in different colours notes, and they've added so much pyro. There's this kind of wall of fire that appears around them that just adds the spiritual feeling and intensifies it. And I think camera work wise, they are one of the only acts who has this nailed and locked down. This actually looks semi-final ready compared to a lot of other acts. Vocally great, it's a catchy melody. I think the screens are really impressive, and for me, no doubt Norway is going through to the grand final.
Yeah, I think actually Norway are one of the ones where actually now that the more that I think about it and the changes that they have made, the LED is practically almost completely different. You know, we didn't see things like the reindeer the first time. And it feels like, well, if they could manage to make these changes and sweeping changes at that, why are all these other people saying, well, we weren't allowed to make these changes, that and the other? Yeah. Norway clearly did, so what's really going on? No, really, really good. Lighting good. Best camera work, I think, of the entire show almost at this point. And considering that there are 3 of them, they're all separated apart at the start, it would be really easy for them to rely on these wide shots that have become the meme of the Eurovision season, it feels like. But they don't, and they have that intimacy. They have really effective camera shots. This is one of the best of the day, really, I would say. Yeah, very good job by Norway. Lighting's better. I can see this qualifying. I'm still a little bit worried for it, just because it feels like we've seen songs like this, like a Greta Salome, kind of be knocked out before, and it's been a huge shock. But I really hope for their sake, because they're all really good vocalists as well. And that reindeer, Sammy, sign, graphic shot, really strong. So yeah,
artistic.
Lots of positives there.
Yeah. Well, that's what we think. What do you think? Are you loving Norway? What about Mother Russia? And can Albania bring it home? Let us know here on wiwibloggs.
Make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, let us know in the comments what you think about those 3 songs, and hit that notification bell.
Make sure to follow us on all of our social media, and of course follow the live stream. You can watch it back, you can watch it live, it's up to you.
And have you ever met an Albanian of Russian descent who lived in Norway? You might just have one in your past. Find out with My Heritage DNA. We'll see you later. Bye!